Hello everybody, it's Kimberly. Welcome back. At the time of this recording and upload, today is Good Friday, and Good Friday is the day that we remember the crucifixion of Jesus. So I'm going to do some kind of art journaling techniques here, and since you guys all know the story about Jesus's crucifixion, I'm just doing this in the book of John, and I'm going to tell you about the process of the art that I'm doing, because I'm an art journaler, and I've been teaching art journaling for about 20 years, and this is very much back to my art journaling roots, but just in the margins of my Bible. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these tinted charcoal pencils that I have. They seem really cool for this occasion because they're really gritty and dirty. It's literal charcoal and clay that they're made of, and Good Friday is just a gritty day. So I'm starting out by layering a bunch of colors. These are all kind of earth tones, but there's some browns that I'm putting in first and grays, and then I added in some a little purple, and then I'm going to add in some it's kind of like a kind of a brownish red, and all of these layers take some time. And what's really cool about taking this time is just, this is sped up times 2. So this took me twice as long to do as you're seeing right here on the screen. And what I'm doing while I'm putting down all these layers and smudging them out is just praying, thinking, asking God for new insights into the cross, asking Him to just hang out with me. Just kind of a quiet, reflective time to spend with God. And here I'm adding in some purple. You can't really see it, but that's totally okay in art journaling because it's all about the symbolism of what you're doing, or the kind of the act of what you're doing when I teach art journaling. So for me, all I need to know is I added purple in there, and I added purple in this little pile of dust because of His royalty. And then I add the charcoal that's been tinted a reddish color, and put that in there to symbolize His blood that was spilled on the cross. And all these layers of dirt, as I was doing this, just reminded me of everything, all the layers of what He went through on Good Friday. It was a complicated day. It was a chaotic day. And it was a day full of torture and redemption at the same time. It's such a strange mix. But our God is pretty cool in all of His strangeness. So you can see when I'm working with these charcoal pencils, they kind of flake and get dusty, but that's good. That's the actual material that you're using. So instead of, since I don't want a straight line, I'm just taking those little crumbles and blending them into the page. And what I want here is just a really kind of dirty looking, dark, dusty background for what I'm going to draw next. Now I'm just darkening the edge of the page, just to kind of frame it out and make it stand out. This is a black charcoal pencil, so it's going to be the darkest one. And as you're art journaling, even for me, like even the supplies I use mean something. So in this process, these charcoal pencils, I'm not a drawer, but I use them, I can use them for things like this. Just the fact that if you don't like fingernails on a chalkboard, I'm just going to warn you, don't buy these because they're really gritty. And when you draw with them, you kind of hear that little scraping noise. Now, I'm not going to traumatize you anymore by describing it any better, but there's just something about that gritty, dirty, back to the earth. These are made out of charcoal and clay. I mean, so many of our art supplies today, what am I thinking of? Just acrylic paint. It's a plastic-based paint. Nothing wrong with it, but I just love that this is kind of so back to basics. Now these are tinted, so they're I don't know what they're tinted with. I don't know if it's an India ink or I don't think it's an India ink. I think it's a water-soluble ink. They're tinted a little bit so that you can get different shades of these kind of more earthy looking colors. But maybe it's the clay that they're tinted with. Maybe it's actual, because I know there's clay in there. Anyway, doesn't really matter, but they're slightly tinted so that you can add really subtle shades. And as you see, I'm just building up the layers, and over time, these layers just end up looking more rich. So totally dirtying up that side of the page. Love, love, love getting my fingers messy in here and creating this. And now I'm taking a couple of brown charcoal pencils, and I'm going to be drawing what I can of the crown of thorns and putting it on this page. Now this page happens to span the time of when Jesus was when he died on the cross, and then the right side of the page is when the Marys found him, found the tomb empty, and when he appeared to the disciples and stuff. So I thought this was a really cool page to do this double page spread that I'm doing right here, and you'll see what I do on the next page as we get to that. So there's a blue pencil that's charcoal pencil that's tinted this blue color, and I'm using that, and I'm using it to kind of symbolize the hope that's on the other side of the crown of thorns, kind of the blue sky, because you know the Bible talks about the sky going dark and everything going dark, and there's two sides to the crown, and there's hope. On the crown of thorns, there's hope in that. Obviously, you know, amazing hope, amazing grace. I don't know if you hear that playing in the background, but I've got Amazing Grace playing in the background here for you. So I'm just going to be laying down some of this. And as I did it, it almost looks like maybe we're looking at the top of Jesus's head. And I didn't mean for it to be that way. I don't mean for it to be quite that literal, but it almost looks like there's the sky in front of him, and as if he's kind of looking down at his feet. And we're seeing, you know, like brown hair on the top of his head and the crown of thorns. So that's what's kind of... That's actually what's extraordinarily cool about art journaling, is there's almost always stuff that comes up in your art journaling that you didn't intend that becomes really intensely powerful and very cool. So all of a sudden now this crown of thorns feels quite personal, and I feel like I'm just kind of being able to be right there, like the disciples were at his feet, some of them, and his mother Mary, and I believe Mary Magdalene was at his feet during the crucifixion. And I've been getting all heavy for these last couple days. And you guys know me. If you're new here, you don't know me yet. But if you know me, you know I'm really upbeat. I'm an optimistic person. I just love the abundant love of our God. And so I'm not usually quite this somber, but I can't and I don't want to be chipper on Good Friday. That's for Easter. Now it's not for everybody. Not everybody needs to feel this way. There's not a right or wrong way to celebrate Holy Week by any means. This is just how I do it. And so I'm sharing this expression of my heart with you guys. So I'm just using a highlighter, or not a highlighter pen, it's called a blending pen, to kind of blend out some of these lines and blend in the thorns a little bit. And again, I just soaked in this time with God. For me, this wasn't creating a beautiful piece of work, but it was about creating kind of the best I could to express my heart and gratitude for what he went through for me. on the pages of my Bible. So now I'm taking a blending pen and I'm just kind of scraping into the dirt that's the charcoal here on the page. And I'm writing down his cross, or his crown, sorry, not his cross, his crown. And you guys saw the video title. This is called His Crown versus My Crown. And this is actually a 2-part video, not just because it got really long, but mostly because of the transformation that happens. So I'm excited to show you in 2 days what's going to happen to these crowns. And that's part of the art journaling process too. But for today, we are left with the crown of thorns, right? And this is, even if you're not watching this on Easter weekend or anywhere near Easter, this isn't something you have to do just at Easter time, right? We recognize the importance of his cross and his crown all the time in our lives. I just don't spend much time being somber about it the rest of the year. So this is like my one time of year where I feel like I can just kind of soak in the grief and the wonder of the cross. So here I'm on this side, I'm drawing my crown, and this is a gelato that's kind of a dusty gold. And so what I'm trying to represent over here is that before Jesus went to the cross, all we could do was try to have a shiny crown, right? And we could try, and that was the whole point of the Levitical laws. It was to show us that no matter how hard we try, we can't be perfect. We can try to please God, and we can work really hard at being good, but our crown's still going to be tarnished because we're not perfect, and we serve a perfect God. And so that's the bridge that the cross created. God made a covenant with his people. And back in the Old Testament times, a covenant needed sacrifice of blood to be redeemed. But once Jesus became that sacrificial lamb on the cross, that's where that imagery comes from. He was the final one because he was the only sinless, perfect person that could be sacrificed. There were no perfect animals. There was no perfect person. There was nothing we could even do, even in sacrifice, to kind of pay our dues back to God, to try to get back in his favor. Even our sacrifices aren't good enough. Nothing's good enough. And that's not a self-deprecating thing. It's just a fact. We're human. And so I'm just drawing a simple little crown here with this dirty gold and then kind of this bronze to kind of show that, we can try. We can put our crown on and try really hard to be shiny, but no matter how hard we polish that bronze, it's never going to be gold, right? You can't turn bronze into gold without actually adhering the gold to the bronze and creating an overlay. So there, I'm just bending the page so you can see it. The reflective gelatos and pen are really shining in the light there. So now I'm just going to do some really simple hand lettering. I'm just doing some cursive, and then I'm just adding a little bit of detail to the ends and making it a little bit thicker right here. And again, using this bronze pen, I'm just going to write my crown. So we've got his crown there on the left that happened on Good Friday, and my crown on Good Friday. The crown that tries really hard, or that the crown that was before the cross, the try really hard to be good crown. And that's kind of what we're left with here on Good Friday. I hope it's an important day for you guys. And the second part to this video will be up on Sunday. I'll see you then. Bye.